Hi, I'm Tony from Hump Gaming, and welcome to this episode in the Design Pattern series. Have you ever wondered how games manage to keep settings consistent, or how a single game controller smoothly manages all the player inputs? There's a secret behind this. In this video, we're diving into one of the most powerful yet simplest coding patterns used in game development, the Singleton. Stick around because mastering this could be the key to making your games smarter and more efficient than ever before. What is the Singleton? It's a way of ensuring you only have one instance of a class. It's really useful for things like game managers or leaderboards, times when you want to guarantee that you don't have multiple instances of an object. Let's jump into the code and have a look at how this works. We start by adding a script that will run when a player is added. Then we create the game manager. But this isn't going to implement the Singleton Design Pattern. I want to show you what it looks like without the Singleton Design Pattern being used. Then we're going to update the code to ensure that we only have a single instance of our game manager. First, I create a function that allows the calling code to instantiate the new instance of the game manager. Then I set a few properties, but the main thing we're interested in here is the total points property. I then add a method called getTotalPoints and another one called addTotalPoints. And we just check to make sure a value is added before we add the points. Next, I create a caller script, which instantiates a new instance of the game manager and calls addTotalPoints. I now copy this script to create caller script 2, which does the same thing. Now back in our player added script, I require the game manager and the calling scripts. I then create a new instance of the game manager and print total points. Here we're going to expect it to be 0 because we've not added anything yet. Next, I call update on caller script 1. Remember, in here it's calling game manager add total points method. Then I call the game manager again and print the total points that's been added so far. I then do the same again with caller script 2, which is also adding to total points. And finally, I call add total points directly on our game manager and print the total points out for the last time. Now we run the program and we can see 4 rows have been printed, the first 3 being 0 and the last one being 10. So what's really happening here? What we are seeing is we've created an instance of the game manager. We're going to call this game manager 0. Then caller script 1 creates a new instance of the game manager. This game manager will be called game manager 1. It adds total points to game manager 1. So game manager 0 is not being updated because this is a different instance. They're kind of like identical twins. They look the same, but they are different objects. Now we print the total points from game manager 0, and because we've not added anything so far, the printed value is 0. Then caller script 2 creates game manager 2. So now we have identical triplets. Remember, they look the same, but they are different instances. So when we call game manager 0 for the total points, the result is still 0. Finally, we call game manager 0 to add total points, which allows us to get a value other than 0 as a final output. But it's still not the value 30 that we may have expected. I'll now create a new folder and put the non-singleton code in there. I'll create a second folder and I'm going to copy all the files over. Here I'm going to update the game manager so that we now use the Singleton pattern. But before I do, I need to disable the player added handler in the non-singleton code so it doesn't run. Here I create 2 properties. The first is going to be an instance of our game manager, and that's going to be populated the first time it's called. We do this check here and populate the underscore instance property if it's nil and return the instance to the caller. I then update both methods to return total points, but there's no other changes to the code that's made. We now run it and get a total of 30 points added. Let's quickly look at the difference between this one and our previous one. Like before, we create a game manager. But this time the game manager is set against a game manager instance, and that's what's returned to the caller. Then the points are printed, and as before we get 0. Now caller script 1 creates a game manager, but this time the original game manager that was added to our instance property is returned. It then calls the add total points against the original instance that was created. So when we call get points, we get the value of 10. Now Caller Script 2 also tries to create a new game manager, but it gets returned the original instance that was created. So now when it adds total points, it's called against that original instance. So when we call get points, we get the updated value. And finally, we call add to total points, and this is done against the game manager which we had in our player added script. The very final thing we do, we get to see the total value of points, which was 30. If you want a copy of this code, you can get it from my website. I've put a link in the description. While you're there, if you want to keep up with what I'm doing or keep in touch with any changes that have been made to the code, please sign up to the email list. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe it really helps the channel, and by doing this it'll allow me to cover more topics that you find interesting and make more videos of a higher quality, so please hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, goodbye.